All right, to call the meeting in order, start with the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Last is on, so I can read it. First piece that we have is the audit or the audit committee report. Victor, you want to kick it off?
Thank you. I will summarize from the audit committee meeting we just had. And I think I put in place of the other board members. This is a summarized presentation based upon that, so I'm only going to look at a couple of pages in the PowerPoint slides. So that's the one you saw there. We just went through a draft of the audit reports. The type of report we're looking at is page 3 of the slides. We're looking at clean opinions for the audit. Nothing to be reported in the compliance laws and regulations report. For the extra classroom is also clean opinion. There's a variety for various things that show up in the whole audit report itself. The major considerations are related to the district having set aside money and reserves of about, get the right PowerPoint slide, about $14 million for specific reserves, and there's a list of those. You have capital reserve, you have teacher retirement system reserve, employees retirement system reserve, and a couple of others that they're the smaller amounts, so I don't remember which ones they are at the moment. You have about a handful, a half a dozen of those. So that's where a good amount of money has been set aside, and not just in the current year, over prior years, and being as diligent as possible with the funds for the district. The fund balance position is very important as to where your general fund stands, because that's the budget that you adopt each year. And your overall fund balance in all the funds is just over $18 million. And remember, I said 14 of that is in reserves. The somewhat odd thing, or a lot of people think it's an odd thing, is when you get to your entity-wide financial statements, and that's try to take all governmental activities, in your case, school districts, and put them on an even playing field, put all the assets and all the liabilities on there. You have some significant liabilities that only show up on the entity-wide financial statements. Even your bonded debt doesn't show up on the fund-based statement, it shows up there. So you go from a positive 18 million for fund basis to a negative 26 million on entity-wide basis. Well, why? The biggest piece of that is something called other post-employment benefits, which is health insurance for retirees, and an actuarial calculation that also includes what your current employees are working for it as well. And that obligation is over $40 million, and that's why it drives to a negative on an entity-wide basis. There was nothing to put into the compliance and laws and regs report this year. We do have a management letter item at the moment, and perhaps a second management letter item. The first management letter item is related to the fund balance in your cafeteria fund, your school lunch fund. Yes, I said cafeteria fund. If anybody's been around the district for 10 years or more, you'll know that you didn't always have a positive fund balance in your cafeteria fund. You actually have accumulated money in there beyond what the guideline is, and the guideline is 3 months of expenses. So you're a little above that, well, maybe a lot above that at the moment, but based upon the discussion in the audit committee, you have plans to ratchet that down. And a good share of that money came in during the COVID time period, honestly, for running the cafeteria program. So that's the current management letter item in there. The other thing that has come to light and shared with the audit committee is there's a newer interpretation from the accounting standards, government accounting standards board, related to specific accrual, where you've been trying to stay ahead of the game related to retirees' health insurance in your general fund. And you're not allowed to fund multiple years, but you've been funding a part of a year in there. The current interpretation is that you probably should not be doing that. We actually reached out to the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants for an interpretation of that, a clarification of that interpretation. But it's looking like that's an item that would have to be removed from your accruals. We chatted about that a little bit in the audit committee. And it sounds like there's a lot of places you can use that money. What it may do is right now you're hovering right around 4% unassigned unreserved fund balance. Depending upon what other reserves the district has available to itself that you've approved previously, can't do a new reserve. You might end up over the 4%. If that item ends up in the management letter, you'll have to do a corrective action plan, and there was actually some dialogue about that, so I don't know if Elliot wants to jump in on that, but sounds like you have a good opportunity to utilize that in other places if the interpretation we get back is that you can't leave that accrual on the books.
Yeah, Ashley just went back and sent me the updated, like, where we could park things. We don't have enough room to currently absorb what would be 1.5 estimated increase to our unassigned fund balance. What we could do, given the volume of work ahead of us as part of our proposed capital plan, which is already, well north of $40 or $50 million potentially. If you remember, just going back to basics, we identified $42 million approximately in need based on building additional loan. So we could, if we're able to carry the overage for 1 year, we could, as part of our May propositions, either general fund vote or board election, or capital project vote, we could also have a proposition to establish a new capital reserve, which would allow us to park this $1.5 million in a place that could be another $10 million authorization potentially, where over the next 10 years, we could add to that and use that money to pay down any potential debt incurred as part of the capital project. In addition to the 10 million we already have in reserve, there was a question about whether or not we would want to just get authorization to increase the reserve we have or take some out for starting the project and replenish it. Remember, these capital reserves are limited to 10-year windows. So since we already established this one almost 3 years ago, it'll be 3 years at the end of this year. It behooves us to give us more time to establish another reserve to run parallel. And should we have overages in the coming years, we can use the reserve to park that money, and hoping we get a positive voter authorization for the project, we could then use that cash to pay down any money that we wouldn't then have to borrow to the taxpayer. So that would reduce the tax impacts to the community significantly.
I don't know how many people were actually on the board at the time, but originally we had 2 years. And we were told that the recommendation was to go to not have 2 years, to have 1 year. It sort of lucked out because that covered a portion of the mold issues we had. We brought it down to 1 year. Now we're being, and again, there still have to do some, are we interpreting this correctly? But the bottom line is, if that's true, it gives us another $1 million that we can take off the taxpayers' plate on the capital project. But we need to put a plan in play, or a plan in place to describe how we're going to do that. And we need the board's approval to move down that path. Is that correct?
Yeah, and what I shared with the audit committee is this interpretation is fairly recent in terminology of accounting standards. It's called the implementation guide for 2022, but it was issued in 23. So as we sat here a year ago going through the audit report, it didn't exist. So it's more current information and clarification, I should say, because that's what the accounting standards tries to do as questions come up. And it usually something of this nature generates from a question that somebody actually sent into the accounting standards. So try and stay on top of it.
When this was reviewed with the audit committee, it was we have to take, you know, it's gonna come, if this remains true, it's gonna come out as a, you know, slap on the wrist, you shouldn't be doing that. But not only will we have the amount, but we'll have an action plan attached to that as to what we're gonna do with it and how we're gonna do it. So I think everybody, and I'll, you know, Jen and Chris, everyone on the audit committee was okay or was behind doing that. But I'll let you guys.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with letting it go over the 4%.
Chris, you okay?
I'm in agreement as well.
Anyway. So do we need, what do we need? Do we need a motion? Do we just need sort of a,
Well, the board's gonna have to accept the corrective action plan, and we'll have this in back into it once we receive it.
okay. And that's at the next meeting, we'll have the corrective action report, or we have it?
The corrective action plan itself is not actually due until January.
Okay. Okay,
We do like to include the corrective action plans if possible in the bound audit report, but it's not absolutely required. Dave has already set up the criteria that if you have a management letter or something in your audit report, they don't expect it, they don't require it to be uploaded with the audit report.
Okay.
So it's January date. I'll say the 15th, but I'm not sure that's the case. Could be January 1st, which is unlikely. But there's various deadlines in all the uploads. But for example, single audit, if you need one, which because of the CARES money you needed recently, that's not even due. It's due March 31st. So the upload date for that with SED is April 24.
so
There's a series of dates that would need to be met. So
anyone on the board that has a problem with following that plan? Okay. Okay. All right. Any questions for Victor? Thank you, Victor,
Thank you for
very
your time.
much.
Thank the audit committee for their time and the administration for working through the audit with us, which is always challenging. It doesn't mean you're in a bad situation, not at all, but there's a lot of wrinkles that happen every year in every audit.
Okay,
Thank you.
very good.
Victor.
Thank you, Victor. All right. Now we move to the consent agenda. Anything anyone wants to take it off completely?
Like to have number 5 taken off for executive discussion.
Okay. Anything else? Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions, concerns, comments, other than number 5? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Okay. President and Vice President's report. I went to the Dutchess County School Board Association meeting started. The first one was last Thursday. And as I told Caroline and several others that I was going to take forward 2 things. One, the electric buses. This mandate by Governor Hochul that we all, and I still am not exactly sure on the dates, but that we must have all electric buses by a certain date. 2035, but also anything that we buy, or I guess first student would buy after the 27th has to be electric. And the bottom line is, from everything, we have not done anything formal, but this doesn't work in districts, especially districts like Millburn. We take our buses, they go out, they get the high school kids, they bring them back. And then they have to go out and get the elementary kids. The buses aren't charged. They can't go that far. So what do? Do we have to have first student put on double the buses? Do we have to, you know, it's just, this is not that easy. These buses are 2 or 3 times as heavy as current buses. We have dirt roads, back roads that we cannot, I don't believe, can handle these buses. So, there's not a motion, but an item with NISBA about these buses, that it's gotta be planned out, it's gotta be aided, it's gotta be, because these buses are about $500,000 a clip. And, it's ridiculous. I mean, there's absolutely, as far as I can see, and I haven't seen anybody say, anything to the opposite. We just can't do this. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's great. I want to see us get off of fossil fuel. But the bottom line is you can't bankrupt the district to do this. So I threw that on the table. And a lot of districts, the only comment that wasn't, yeah, that's right, we got to do that, was a couple of districts said it'll never happen, it'll just get kicked down the road. And this is too dangerous in my eyes. We have I don't know who's going to be lifting these buses, because to fix them. There's no charging stations down at First Student. If First Student gets told thou shalt do this, I don't trust that they wouldn't walk away. I would, because of the amount of money you're gonna have to put up front. You're never gonna get this money back, or you're gonna charge the school districts massive amounts of money to pick up our kids, and that's just ridiculous. And I also have some safety issues, but that's just me personally. So the second issue is, and I don't know whether you've all seen it, this letter that came out last week sometime that basically said school districts, the school votes we have to send out ballots. We can't count our ballots as final until 2 weeks after the voting. This basically makes it a month of voting stuff that we're gonna have to somehow support, and it's ridiculous. So there's also and most of the other districts, they were saying that their clerks are all up in arms, that how can you possibly do this? You have to send them out to anybody, you have to send them to, like, you can send an email, I have to send you the ballots, then you have till 2 weeks after to actually get them back in. That's our timeline before the election is always set in stone. We have to be ready by here with this, we have to be ready by here with that. Now, everything is pushed back 2 weeks. And then it goes on past the election. We'll have no idea whether our budget passes or anything passes on the night of the elections. Because you have 2 more weeks of running ballots as they come in. So both of those was hit list. And I invited Gully here tonight because Gully's one of the people on the Dutchess County School Board that's been helping us to get some of these things in front of the legislators. Also looking for other places that we can push people to get these things on there. So I just want to let you know that's what, the discussion, at least that I cranked up on, that's where that came out. I don't think there was anything else at the School Board Association meeting that was, anyway, so that was that. I just want to let you guys know. I think both of these, we need to fight them, tooth and nail. Anyway, any questions on that? Questions for Gully or either? Agreed. All right, Chris? I'm good. There's the rest of the agenda. There you go. Assistant superintendent. All right, superintendent report.
Good evening, everyone. So with regards to instruction, we had superintendent's conference day today, which I know Dr. Watkins will talk about in her report. But over the course of the past few weeks, we've had support for our teachers from literacy coaches, spanning all grades throughout the district. So that's something new this year that we're able to offer P12. So that's a pretty big deal when we're looking at embedding, the best practices for teaching literacy skills into all of our classrooms and really having a student focus when we create these lesson plans and learning experiences. In terms of operations, Elm Drive will be conducting their reunification drill tomorrow with the kindergarten class. Once again, Millbrook is on the leading edge of this practice of having these reunification drills. We have the Putnam County Department of Health coming to observe, as well as John Jay High School East Fishkill coming to observe a reunification drill because they have not yet been able to do that with their student population. So we're really excited to be able to be a lab site and to be able to help other districts advance with safety and security protocols. Millbrook Fire Department will be conducting a fire prevention assembly at Alden Place this week, which is exciting. The students love to hear all about that, see real firemen in real life, and when they were able, they love the Touch a Truck program as well. I want to congratulate the High School Interact Club. They raised $100 to donate to ending polio in their lunch periods and before the game last week, the football game last week. Also, thank you to our PTO for very successful book fairs at both Elm and Alden Place. And congratulations to the students who participated in the ukulele project performance, fifth graders, former fifth graders, I guess, some of them are sixth graders now, performed at Community Day this past Saturday. It ended up being indoors because of the weather, but nevertheless, it was a great performance and it highlighted the ukuleles that were purchased by the MEF for our music program. We have Mindful Movements, which is our mindfulness and yoga program returning to our elementary school this month. It's part of our push for social emotional learning and students learning self-regulation skills. The students enjoy it, and I know that those are skills that they'll be able to carry forward into even adulthood. So we're happy to be able to offer that for them. We have a wellness committee. We had a wellness committee meeting last week. That was a success. We discussed having high school students provide childcare at some of our evening events. We did have parent representatives, which we were really excited about because in the past we've invited folks, but we haven't necessarily been able to engage parents. So we had some parents who were in attendance who said that they think that night events are great, but that one of the biggest obstacles for parents to attend is having that childcare. So we're going to try and make sure that in the future, when we have events that are on campus, that we also have some of our older students who might need some community service hours, being able to do some of that babysitting and entertainment while parents are able to attend to the night's events. We're also planning a wellness fair for the district, and we have some new information on our CAPE website, which is up and running under the Student Services tab on our main website. So we're excited to be able to share information. If you remember, CAPE is the Council for Addiction Prevention Education. We do have a counselor here on campus that's working primarily with our secondary students, but creating programming throughout the district. So we're excited to be able to share that information with the community on that website. And we've also set up a website for our Astor counselor, Elizabeth Conti, as well. So you can go in there and you can look at that and all of the SEL events that are upcoming throughout the school year. They're all right there available on our website for your review. We have some upcoming events. We have Blue Ribbon Blazer assemblies for our elementary schools on October 13th. On October 16th, we are beginning this year's rollout of the ruler curriculum. We also have a webinar, which I can't plug enough. It's a webinar. Nobody has to come here. There will be a link provided for the Talcott presentation. It is mind-blowing. I was a secondary administrator for many years, and I sat through this gentleman's presentation and my mind was blown at all the ways in which you know, students will hide paraphernalia, drugs, etc. You know, it's very important for parents, administrators, school district employees, and those on the periphery to be informed about this. I think I mentioned before that Dutchess County has had the highest rate of per capita of drug overdoses in recent years. That's an ongoing recent statistic. It's, it's not necessarily getting worse, but it's not getting better as quickly as we need it to be. So the more informed population we have, the better. So if you are available, please tune into that webinar. On October 30th, Elm and Alden, together with the PTO, are hosting a Halloween themed movie night. So thank you to the PTO for their support with that. And on October 30th, there will be a meeting of the advisory council that will review this year's counseling plan for the district. And that's all I have.
Gosh. Is the webinar something that you can go back and watch after the fact?
I don't know if that's going to be recorded. Do you know that answer?
Usually they don't allow us to record it just because.
So we don't use it.
Yeah,
Okay.
we do ask, but I don't know. I will double check.
And it's actually a rarity that this type of presentation is available in webinar, because a lot of times from insurance purposes, they're not able to do it. So this is we're pretty fortunate to be able to have this. So if you can tune in, you definitely should.
Okay.
And is that also like elementary age kids appropriate?
I think it might be over their head, but it's definitely important for parents of elementary
Okay.
students, just because there's so many things that, like I said, I was in it working with adolescents and my mind was blown at some of the things. I didn't even know what they were. So I think as parents, just in terms of, accidental contact that children could come into, it's really important, I think, just to be aware.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
What's the Halloween movie?
Potentially hotel transfer.
Right after school? Because that's a.
It is gonna be right after school.
And only kids are allowed to go?
It might be too much for
Would
you.
you like to chaperone, Jen?
They do need volunteers for the people that are watching the kids.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be watching the kids. so it's fine.
All right. Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you.
All right, next we have, where did it go? The assistant super report.
Okay, so keep it brief. We spoke about the audit already, so thank you to everybody who contributed, committee members who contributed to that process. Tax collection update, our first deadline for installment payments has passed. We've currently collected over $16 million in school tax revenue, so that's helpful to keep the business up to date and running. We still currently have a couple of vacant positions. We have a clerk position in the business office and a couple of others. So just for anybody that's watching at home, we do have a very easy way to find our open vacancies on the website. So I'm going to keep plugging it at every opportunity. There's a big apply button on the right-hand side of our main page. If you know anybody that's interested in working for the district, please click on that link, see what's available. Some of our positions are part-time, some are full-time, some are per diem sub positions, and don't necessarily require any experience. So if you know anybody that's looking, we are still looking for good people to join our teams. Mr. Mullins will speak in more detail to the facility operations plan. I just wanted to highlight a couple of things. Thank you, John, for getting our heating plants up to date. This weather's been crazy. We've gone from 80-degree days to 60-degree days, and from running air conditioning to running heat to running air conditioning to running heat in the same day. So John's done a great job keeping his team running and keeping our heating and cooling plants as operational as possible, given the challenges of their design and configuration. So thank you, John. We've also, John's been working with Albert to meet with our school principals already. There's been a number of meetings throughout the summer, certainly, but even just to get the school year up and running. So the team and John will highlight the beautification projects that he's done, but I appreciate the communication between all of our building leaders and our operations directors, specifically Mr. Mullins and his crew. We are in the process of implementing a new vehicle replacement plan, which is exciting. Thank you. The board supported that in our budget for this year. So John and his leadership team put together the specifications for the next vehicle that we're going to buy. And the intent is to replace one of our major vehicles every 2 years to get a 10-year life expectancy out of these vehicles, which is beyond their depreciation schedule. So we get as much life out of them as we can, and then we'll be accessing and auctioning any vehicles that get replaced thereafter. I think this year we're going to just add the one to the fleet I don't know that we're in place to determine if we're ready to release a vehicle just yet, but starting next year, we'll begin that excess and auction process for vehicles and heavy equipment. District-wide cleaning schedule updates. I just wanted to highlight here that John and Albert and his team have really taken a comprehensive look at the district in terms of our cleaning schedules and recognizing that the needs at the primary level at the lowest grades is a little bit different than the needs at the secondary level. In just terms of building layout, we have a bathroom in every single classroom at Elm Drive, for example. So John and Albert worked together to put together a district-wide cleaning schedule that actually moves our employees from building to building when there's a shortage to make sure that those critical areas do get hit. So I just wanted to share that that's something new for Millbrook, looking at the district kind of as one big body. And I really appreciate the amount of effort that went into designating cleaning schedule, balancing the workload of our custodial staff, and really moving bodies where we need them in the most critical places to make sure that the most high priority things get done regardless of our staffing levels from one day to the next. So thank you for that, John. On the technology side, we welcome our new website manager, Laura Fasheen, who was appointed this evening. So Laura's already been doing a fantastic job and we're excited to continue working with her. We're working on some new cybersecurity protocols. We've been granted additional coverage through Beasley, through NYSER. So they're a co-insurer from our parent insurance company, NYSER. Mr. Kirsch and I are working together with additional tech support vendors to further bolster our cybersecurity efforts, including continuity of business and continuity of instruction plans and disaster recovery plans. Those can be shared with the board in an executive session to be determined, but these things are still in development and they are continuing to evolve as we hopefully never need them. But like any other disaster and emergency plan, we are working hard to put those together. We've also been meeting with some of our network support vendors to update our long-range network equipment and replacement plan, looking at the life cycles of our equipment and different funding options for replacing our heavy pieces of equipment, our servers, our switches, the things that live in our network closets. So those meetings are also happening already this year. And just a reminder for anybody who has not yet set up a parent view account with our new student information system, Synergy. It's fantastic. It's very easy to use. It's got a really cool mobile interface. So I'd encourage anybody who didn't already sign up for that. If you don't have the link or you need an updated link, please reach out to the help desk or Mr. Kirsch and they will help get you set up with that. On the capital project side, we've had ongoing meetings. Our design team is currently updating the comprehensive proposal plan to bring to the board. I'd like to tentatively bring that to the board at the next board meeting if they're ready. But our next step will be once the designers, the engineers and architects finalize all the scope options, we're going to bring them to our large project team that's inclusive of the board subcommittee for facilities, our instructional leaders, as well as our operations team and the design team to look at it one more time, really prioritize up the building condition needs and the programmatic needs and wants so that we can bring them to the board in an upcoming meeting. The hope is that we will be able to present to the board what we think should happen first, what we think should happen second, and honestly, what we feel collectively can be deferred to potentially a future project as our scope is growing quickly. If we wanted to do everything on the scope list, we would be well beyond what we're able to support financially and what the state would allow in terms of maximum cost allowances. So we're working to just tighten all those numbers up and hope to bring those to the board, if not at the next meeting, certainly at the one to follow. Any questions?
Question for you. Okay, thank you. All right, now this is when we get to torture John. Go ahead, John.
Annual inspection of all interior firearm systems have been performed by a licensed contractor. Always good. We had numerous fire drills throughout the district. Everything went smooth. Competition ready maintenance of the athletic fields and cross-country tracks. We've been maintaining them, so all of our activities and sports have been on good up at the athletic field. We secured a new lawn sprinkler service company for the athletic field sprinkler system, and we found out some new things that we didn't know about. We had some rain sensors up there that we didn't even know about. So whenever it rained, it would shut the sprinklers down, and the sensor was actually dead, so the fields were over flooding. And this new company is really amazing, so, and they're cheaper than the old company that was here, so it's really good news. We installed all new and improved visitor parking signs in the designated parking spots in the middle school, high school parking lot. All boilers within the district have been cleaned and serviced and are up and running and they're operating, even the old over together. Prayers. Facility staff assisted with transporting the band equipment, and setting it up with the Taste of Newport. We also assisted the art club with painting of the mural for homecoming. We purchased the paint, setting up tables and chairs so the kids could do that beautiful mural up there. At the high school, we completed installation of all the vape sensors prior to school opening. We installed a vanity and sink in the second floor teachers lounge, which they were in desperate need of. They had no water up there, so that was a major job. That was a major undertaking. We saved the district a lot of money. Instead of getting a plumber to come out, we had to run hot, cold water, waste line, and chill through the upper deck to get down to the first floor. It was a big job. The custodians and maintenance staff, they worked together, and teachers are very happy over there. We painted all the exterior electric guardrails facing to the high school. I guess you can see all of them out there. They painted silver Rust-Oleum to protect them. They were all rusted out and falling apart.
Hey, John, I thought we had all the vape sensors in place in the high school. I thought next was the middle school.
The middle school was all right. We did the middle school first.
Oh, we did, all right.
Yeah, I put that on the other
Okay.
report.
We added additional units to the high school and we replaced all the existing. at high school.
Okay.
So middle school. We finished the 4 remaining workbenches down in the technology classroom, so we're gonna keep up with that every year. We sand them down, we poly them so they don't get in the bad condition that they were. We installed a new range hood in the family and consumer science classroom. That was another big job. We had to run electric up there and we had to vent out the range hood. So same thing, custodians and facilities guys working together and doing a really great job. We painted the upper walls in the gym above the bleachers, improving the stained area beneath the glazed brick windows. We repurposed and installed mini blinds for the admin offices for several classrooms in needs. So we just didn't throw the old blinds out, we repurposed them. We assembled the outdoor picnic tables that are developed purchased, and we got assembled new cafeteria tables in place of the old ones that were all broken down. And they actually match, and the cafeteria looks really good. At all of them, we painted the front of the stage. That was in desperate need of it. We installed an air conditioner in room 64, and we replaced the fan and air conditioning unit in the server room, so we wouldn't lose internet services. At Elm Drive, we painted all classroom door frames. We painted the front of the stage, same thing, we did it done, and the railings and the stair kick plates. And we assembled new outdoor picnic tables for the principal down there also.
Good.
Any questions about it? I just want to thank custodial staff and the maintenance staff. These guys are really turning around and everybody wants to learn something. It's amazing. It really is.
And we thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Any questions for John? All right. Amy?
Sure. Well, thank you again for the opportunity to share what's been happening in my world. So I will try to keep it brief, but as Elliot already said, we're thrilled to have Laura join and expand her services with us as webmaster, but I will speak to what she's been doing. If you do follow us on social media and Instagram and Facebook, she's been doing an amazing job sharing quick videos. Right now, we talked about doing a series, so she's been highlighting Elm. And there was a great interview that she did of the pre-K and K students talking about the opening of school. It was adorable. Also with the sensory classrooms, the hallways that she's done. She did a quick video of the students exploring those in the hallway and walking down the hallway and hopping down as they should on a sensory path. So I love how she's really helping us tell our stories in our community and giving our parents a glimpse into those spaces. She'll continue up through Alden and the middle school and the high school as well. So age appropriate opportunities for students to share their insights. She specifically is going to be targeting middle school and how they've eased into the transition from Alden, because we all know that they're always like super scared and when they come to middle school, they'll never be able to do their lockers. I'm excited to hear how they've eased into that transition, because I think that'll help parents who currently have fifth graders, as well as the parents that have the sixth graders that have done the transition. In addition, she's also worked on, we have been sending out the Millbrook Minute, which continues, but our Blazer Bulletin was intermittent last year. She's working on having weekly Blazer bulletins. So 2 have been sent out with her. She uses a program, Constant Contact, which is familiar with like PPO groups and whatnot, but it offers analytics specifically of who's opening it. If someone doesn't open it, because I don't know about you, but sometimes we get a lot of emails. Somebody might say, yeah, I'll read that one later. It'll send a reminder just to those that haven't even opened it yet. So that's a nice piece that's part of their service for us. In addition, I will share some statistics because we all love good data. The industry average is for opening a constant contact email. This is from a variety of school districts, is 37.66%. So that's the average. I just wanted you to know in the first 2 weeks that we've done it, our average is 70.8%. So I feel like that's really great. And a click through, so going through to, isn't that awesome?
Yeah, 36%.
I know that's really low, but I just wanted to put it in perspective that we're twice as high
That's
as
great.
the average. So that's great. And also, because there's the stories, but we also click to Millbrook Minute and we click to the newsletter that has like the links to Tall Cop where the webinar is and upcoming things. So you have one place, and I've developed a website now, so you don't have to go back and find your email. You just can click on the weekly one that comes, and it'll bring you to a website that will show you all of the newsletters that have gone out for September. Now we'll switch over to October. But that click rate, the industry's average is 1.57%, and we are at 5.1%. So I feel like that's pretty good as well. And the staff gets its own. So that's just parents opening that, just to clarify that the staff has their own percentages, and our staff rate is at 63% with a 5% click-through rate. So I'm pretty proud that the format that we're using is engaging with our community, because that was part of our strategic plan with Discourse. And as webmaster, she's definitely going to take on the updates that still need to happen, some transfer of information that hasn't been done yet. And Mr. Kirsch will still continue supporting the buildings and offering training to their webmaster. As Caroline already mentioned, for Superintendent's Conference Day, I was really pleased with how it unfolded. The speakers that we have are not snapshot speakers, so they're going to be with us intermittently throughout the year. So this is a journey that we're taking with the staff this year. So I feel it gives our staff to take a pause and learn with the consultants that we're bringing in, not like trying to shove it down their throat really quick and then say goodbye and try to remember it all. So throughout that journey, I feel that the secondary teachers really focused on student engagement today with the company Equity. In addition, there were those professional learning experiences that I was able to purchase through a grant last year, and now they've started using those so they can dig deeper in between the visits with Equity. In addition to the literacy specialist that worked down at Elm, she was with them last week. Work forward, looking at the assessments that they're doing, instruction with decoding. That supports our MTSS group. So while there are still growing pains with any new student information system, but with Synergy, one of the modules that we paid for was for the MTSS, multi-system tiered system of supports like RTI, AIS. And so tier 1 is one of those areas for the what I need period, the win period, our students would be assigned that. So now through the tracking that Synergy allows in that module, students will have a targeted focus. The teachers will be monitoring that focus. So I'm sure there will be growing pains, but I'm just happy to have vertically K-12, E-12, a system that we're all using so that we can have as administrators conversations on what the needs are of our students and how they're improving as we go along. We've talked about the ELA consultants. I'm really excited in all 4 of our buildings having that support and having our teachers dig deep into those, what I need type of conversations with the consultants. So that's been very exciting for me. And then EAB, just to follow up, that is the agency that we're working with on rolling out our strategic plan. We've talked about, I was able to share the good work that's happening at the middle school, particularly with the emotion tracker and how we're following up, and to Mr. Cavillo and his staff's credit on how they've really harnessed the emotion tracker that allows the students to, report how they're feeling. They can do it as many times as they want, but they specifically allow time at that first period to do that. And EAB was really impressed with that and would like to follow up with Mr. Cavillo and his team on that. They thought that was amazing how we were doing that.
The win, is it the same that it was like over the past couple years? Where they, and like, when does that get, if it is, when does that get introduced to the classrooms and?
So I know both Mr. Lipka and Ms. O'Connell have worked with their staff on organizing the students and what their needs are and which teacher will be working with them. So the next level of that work is for the teachers to really figure out, based on the IXL scores and any other data that they have, what that target focus is. So where in the past we might have said, so we're going to do comprehension because everybody needs help in comprehension. That's always true. We all could use a little bit of help, right? But we want to make sure that we're actually measuring where they are when we start that support and do the progress monitoring to say how far they've come after that intervention that we've offered them. So even as a tier 1 support, we should be able to track students' progress, because that could become really boring for students if they're not seeing their own gain, as well as for the teacher too. So that's part of the growing pains. I think we've always kept copious notes. But to be able to see it this way and be able to have those conversations, and even at the middle school, looking at how we're doing it and looking at those target focus is really going to be exciting. So it's definitely a roll up your sleeve kind of moment. But I feel like this is a tool that's going to keep it in one space for us. It even keeps track if the student was absent. So they say they were out for 3 days. It'll show that they've missed 3 sessions of 30-minute sessions, which would impact their growth over time. Okay. So that's the piece that we wouldn't necessarily have seen over that 12-week period.
So yeah, so now that those IXL not placements, but scores or whatever have come out, then they work on getting that. So within the next couple of weeks, that's when they'll.
Yeah, I know Mr. Lip has done well with his groups, he had placed them. His teachers hadn't had conversations. He just knew who needed what teacher. And now they're going to look at, based on where they're the students in the classrooms, he'll work with them on coming up with that target focus. So they have some built-in time that he's working with the MTSS team to show them what they're doing. And I know Mr. Connell is looking at that with her team as well.
Good. I'm glad they continued that.
Yeah, as far as the letters that are coming out, I know we had some bumps last year with some of those letters going out. So I have to work with Mr. Kurtz and follow up on that because the system's different. So I want to make sure that we're really looking at what those letters are asked, sharing with parents, and it makes sense.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thanks, Amy.
Thanks.
All right. Guest speaker of the evening.
Yeah.
Steve, it's up to you, man.
All right, so good evening. A lot of the stuff I was going to share honestly has been shared today, so I'll do a quick run over those. Number one, the facilities team, I just cannot say enough about this building, the amount of work they've done. You take a walk through that main office. Now you look at the bathroom that they redid, you look at the picnic tables they put together that are outside in blazer blue, the matching of the new tables with the ones we had just recently purchased. We get rid of these old ones that were really heavy, and honestly, they were struggling to just move them because they were so heavy and big and broken. And the amount of work that they did in-house too, the amount of savings that provides for the district and allowed for us to do. I just want to just say a big thank you to that whole team. They've been absolutely incredible. So that's number one. I wanted to share that. As far as the building, we got off to a really great start to start the year. We had a nice opening, day assembly, similar to what the high school did. And we took an approach this year of taking a little bit more time at the beginning of the year to ease that transition, to set expectations, to do some of our ruler work, to make sure all students understood expectations. And I think it's really proven to be a big difference. We've seen a much smoother transition from all students, not just, our fifth graders that are becoming sixth graders who are doing incredibly better than most of our groups have done in the past with their lockers and transitions and, really becoming middle level students. But for our seventh and eighth graders coming back too, it's really been a beautiful start to the year here. We've seen lots of really just positive vibes coming from every angle. So that's been really great. Academically, we have completed all of our ELA and math benchmark exams, and our SRI benchmark exams as well. So those are all done. Our data team and our TSS team has been meeting regularly. We're putting all that data together right now, in a nice, easy document that then will get uploaded into Synergy. So much like the information you've been hearing about Synergy, everything is going to all live in one place. So our kids' grades are going to be in there, their discipline history, all their benchmark exams, everything will be there. It'll be nice and easy, creates nice, easy ways for us to look at us, which again, when we start doing a lot of this MTSS work, will make really creating personalized learning for all students, in a really easy way for us to do that. So that has been great as well. As always, our teams are meeting daily. We've been doing some departmental work, so I've been building in some time for different departments, science, math, social studies, music, etc., to start thinking about goal work. So they've been creating goals that they are looking personal set goals for their departments over the course of the next 30, 60, and 90 days. So I actually just sent them an email to them and we're reviewing those. And as we start through the observation process, that's going to be a big part of the conversation, right? It's not just about what we're seeing in the classroom in that one snapshot, but also how is that fitting in what we created as a group. Garrett Jones Roy has been great working. Been really fun to see him working with them. And this evening, actually, from 6 to 7 o'clock, we had our E&L night up here on the third level, meeting with our E&L families, and our E&L team was all here to support. So that's also been really nice. From safety and conduct, we have completed now 4 evacuation drills, 1 lockdown drill, and we also did our drill where we did the shelter and then released, all going really, really well with our safety team. So that's been really great. And then some final special highlights. We had our Spirit Week from the 25th to the 29th. Fun to see all the kids and some administrators in their Barbie outfits and others that were fun. All things you can see on our newsletter, which is my big plug. We work really hard to get those newsletters out every month. We try to be really comprehensive and get as much information there as possible. You can always know what's going on at Millbrook Middle School. And you can find that newsletter either from the link for the parents that I send directly to them, but it's also available on our website, and we keep them all their catalogs, so you can always go back and check all that stuff out. Finally, our sports teams and clubs are off to a great start, seeing some really great things for our students after schools, not only in schools. And I give us a nice long list of some new folks that we have here in the building that are either new to us or have some new names. We had a couple of marriages over the course of the summer and fall, so we're really excited for those folks as well. And then lastly, look out for our 7th graders who will be in the streets of Millbrook tomorrow. It's
Play on the sidewalk.
and seriously, we started a trip to Philadelphia last year, which we will be doing again this year. Our 6th graders we now have a full comprehensive plan for our middle school where our 6th graders go down to medieval times. That's a 1-day trip. By 7th grade, they go to Philadelphia, that's a 1-night overnight trip. And then by 8th grade, they go on the 2-night, 3-day to Washington. So it's a really nice way for them to step up and learn those things. And honestly, this 7th grade trip that they walk through the streets of Millbrook and go through all the historical sites is really a good chance for them to practice walking on the sidewalks, looking at the historical sites. So when they do get out of their comfort zone from Millbrook and into Philadelphia, that they can do so successfully, which they did very well last year. So we're really excited for all of those wonderful things. And coming down the road is October 31st. Happy Halloween. I'm sure we'll see a lot more fun outfits around here as well.
Very good. Questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Always.
All right, where are we going next? Future agenda items, you guys know what that's all about. Questions?
I
Oops,
had a
sorry.
question because the NISBA resolution's on there, but the voting is actually October 16th. Did you want me to quickly go through that, or do you want me to just abide by the NISBA recommendations with the exception of the zero emissions resolutions? Because we will not have a meeting before that.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think, unless somebody's got a different, a different opinion, I think we've been fairly close to the NISBA recommendations. I don't know if anyone has any, something that you want to see either pushed or not pushed. I think that's the easiest way is to really, I mean, if there's something completely off the wall, that's, well, I mean, if you think it's completely off the wall, then that's something we should be looking at.
Okay, yeah, so in my notes, it was about the zero emissions, especially for rural schools. So NISBA was saying to vote against those, but you mentioned those, so obviously that would not be your position, I'm assuming. And there are some that are like, for example, board members to have 6 hours of professional development training each year. NISBA opposes that because it's difficult to find volunteers. State to fund climate change curriculum for elementary and secondary schools. NISBA opposes that because NISBA does not support any legal curriculum mandates. So if that's okay with you, aside from the bus emissions, everything was kind of in line with NISBA does not support legal curriculum mandates and other things that would be stricter, and they did not find it should be supported because there were other avenues to get what was needed in a sense to a certain limit, if that makes sense, without going more depth.
Yeah, just so I'm clear, the NISBA stance on the electric buses is no.
So one of the resolutions is to repeal zero emissions law. Another one is for rural schools to not be part of the zero emission vehicles. And as I said, we should oppose those two resolutions. Yes. Correct. So that was your question.
Okay. Yeah. And the other one is, I'm assuming everybody is.
No, I don't think, can you word that again?
Okay, so NISBA said opposing numbers 33 to 56. One is that rural school and small schools should not be part of the zero emission vehicles. NISBA said it should be all schools. I'm sorry, it should be all schools. That's why they were opposing that. And then number 36, repeal the zero emissions law. So NISBA saying to oppose that one, but 1 second. NISBA is supporting the resolution to conduct a feasibility study on zero emission, the zero emissions law.
Yeah.
That's the limit of it. So I think we would probably be in number 30, supporting number 36 to repeal the zero emissions law.
Right.
Yeah.
So
So
now
voting against what NISBA.
And I know it's kind of a backwards way to approach it, but we shouldn't, in my opinion, we should not be going out as just the rural districts because no one will give a crap.
Right.
I mean, if Arlington says they'll do it, Wappinger says they'll do it, Westchester says they'll do it. Millbrook, Pine Plains and Weavertuck, we're gonna say we're not doing it. That there's no way they'll pay any attention to that. And the voting one, which I don't remember what number that was, the extending the voting calendar or what, I forget what the title of it was, but they opposed that one too, right?
Yes, sorry, give me a second if I find the number. Yes, so not requiring, but allowing early voting on the annual budget and board election. That was number 31. So
So
I
if we
think,
want to do it, we can,
right.
right? Okay, everybody okay with that? Jen, you okay with that? All right, good.
Okay.
Thank you, Deanna.
Thank you. Thank you.
Kelly, make it happen.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Superintendent, trustees Gully, Stanford, 181 Marshall Road, Salt Point. Also a member of the BOCES Board of Education, and also in last week's meeting of the School Boards Association. So I realize actually I have several things I want to share with you, and I realize also the only thing that stands between you and the excitement of our executive session. So I'll be as brief as I possibly can. It's been too long. It's a very long time since I've visited with Noble Board. I do apologize for that. In fact, it's not too late to thank you for your support of the capital construction project, which is, and I know some of you had an opportunity to visit, but hopefully all of you will get by at some point or other to see how well I think your 38 million, well, not Noble's $38 million, but the company's $38 million was spent. We're very proud of the one campus. The alternative high school is now treating students with respect, with a welcome. It's next door to the Career Technical Institute. So now as students come into the alternative high school, they're coming in with hope and the possibility of success and gaining the skills that will help them become productive citizens. We do have a new principal, Keisha Tillman, very proud of that appointment, and she is heading up the alternative high school. I also wanted to thank you. It's been a few months. You've forgotten it, but I haven't forgotten it. Your career fair is always a highlight of my year. Tom Chanowski does a fabulous job there. And of course, this year we celebrated that Anna Bonelli was not only a graduate of yours, but our CTI valedictorian. I wait to see her name on the list of Oscar nominations in due course. She's going to become a filmmaker. But thank you so much for the way how you entrust your students to us. And I hope BOCES is increasingly rewarding you and your students. I'm, for one, very proud of the progress we have made with the Career Technical Institute and the alternative high school. That brings up the fact that we have a vacancy on our board. Rob Rubin from Wappingers has resigned. We have till October the 20th, I believe, to receive nominations. You don't have to make the nominations. The individuals can make the nominations themselves. So it's slightly different from the April or the February through April process. But we welcome all applications. We'll take a look at them. If we feel that interviews are in order, we will go ahead with interviews, but we hope to make the appointment at our November the 8th meeting. So we'll be up to a full complement at that point. And then finally, from BOCES, before we talk a little about the advocacy, yes, everybody is looking into cybersecurity and privacy issues is coming up. We are going to be making a presentation. I think I heard from Kelly Lappin at the February meeting of the Dutchess County School Board Association. But if you want to preview our expert, Mark Stein, head of technology at BOCES, and I gather something of an expert, he'll be presenting tomorrow evening. Our board meeting is obviously broadcast. And we start meeting at 5. We will have a short executive session, but I would say around about 5:30. If somebody just wanted to tune in, there will be a PowerPoint, which of course I will ask to be circulated to the superintendent. So that you guys, in fact, you may know more about this than I do because you get briefed by the district superintendent on a regular basis. So finally, the advocacy piece. Well, I'm so glad that Ms. Kabashi will be participating in the resolution of next 16th, I think, of October. Now, the thing about this is an opportunity for us to comment. And did you get a chance to participate in one of the trainings? I know they did.
There's one tomorrow.
Tomorrow. That is super. So the one on the electric vehicles is number 19. It actually is the resolution is that the school boards advocate state to conduct feasibility studies, review, etc. So in commenting on that, I mean, yes, that's one that the committee has endorsed. So it's going to pass because the ones that the committee endorses pass. But it's an opportunity for us just to raise our concern and perhaps give a little point to the so-called feasibility study, so that we point out that we are very concerned on the impact. Then when we get to the ones that haven't been approved, and thank you for your homework, by the way, you did a better job than I did on getting ready for this, that the waiver for small and rural school districts and the repeal of the law, whereas they will probably fail because most people just follow the recommendations of the committee. The BOE Board has approved that I should actually vote in favor of that, although it may go down. I mean, we need just to make a very strong statement that this is overreach at this point, and we are no less green just because we are trying to be realistic about this. And so those are the two ones. The one about early voting, again, it's a chance for us to comment. There is nothing in there about the unintended consequences of the new mandate. There is basically a permissive piece, as Ms. Kabashi pointed out, that supports legislation. So a ratchet up of the existing legislation that would allow but not require your school districts to offer early voting. That will only add to the problems, to the logistics. I think what's being ignored, and I really thank you, Mr. President, because you gave me an education on this the other day. I didn't realize the complexity it will make for the district clerks, and almost potentially making it a catch-22. You can't actually do what you're told to do, and if the results are delayed, it just throws everything out of kilter. So we get a chance, I think, to comment on that, because that needs to be resolved. And then the only other one, and if I may, perhaps we can caucus a little beforehand. We have three in there. Not quite sure if the preschool education of special needs students is an issue for Millbrook. It is, thank you.
It's an issue for everyone.
Fair enough, I think it is absolutely. So we have three resolutions in there. Several of the members of the Dutchess County School Board Association came on board with this. The last year's budget, and this is a good thing, but it's a slow thing, put $2.5 million in there to do a study into changing the rates and the regulations concerning the 4410s, but it doesn't report until July 25. So that's 2 years of not being able to do what we need to do. So we've got a more aggressive one in there saying that the rates should be changed and there should be more flexibility as to how we can identify and create 4410 programs for the special needs of early childhood. We'll see what that comes to. If it passes, it does have the endorsement of the committee. If it passes, I think what I would suggest we would do is, at least under the aegis of the, School Board Association, identify some legislators who will carry some, the governor's not going to put this in her budget, unfortunately, I'm being realistic about that. But, if we, get some legislators to carry White House letters, I think we might be able to get the attention of that. So, thank you very much. It's always a joy to come. I'm sorry it's so long overdue, and I greatly appreciate the opportunity to partner.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just so you know, it's part of our job, my job, make the clerk's life. I just don't want to do it on that one, so. Thank you, Golly.
Thank you. Good night.
Nice
All
to
right.
see you.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
All right, any questions? Do I have a motion to go to executive session?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Bye.
Any against?